What you just witnessed is arguably the most important scene in all of Kamen Rider. For fans, it's very much an if you know situation. But this innocuous scene from the end of episode 10 would change the course of the series, turning a failing show into a media franchise, also nearly killing lead actor Hiroshi Fujioka. But how did we get here? It's the spring of 1970, and the Mainichi Broadcasting System, MBS, has a half-hour time slot on Saturdays between 7:30 and 8 p.m. that continues to be a money sink. No matter what show they air, regardless of genre or demographic, nothing seems to stick. This was because at the same time, the Tokyo Broadcasting System, TBS, was airing their hit comedy quiz show Comedy Brain Exercises. MBS was unable to compete, and the time slot became a dumping ground for reruns of American shows like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched. After a year of losing though, MBS had enough. MBS approached Toei's television department in June of 1970, requesting a new television program to draw viewers to their channel. The general manager at MBS, Tetsu Shono, said that he wanted a hit show no matter how much money it cost. And Toei producers Yoshinori Watanabe and Toru Hirayama got to work planning the series. Watanabe suggested a masked hero like the classic Japanese superhero Moonlight Mask, but with a gutsy sports theme inspired by the success of Toei's Tiger Mask anime. This was a pretty risky proposition as hero series had fallen out of popularity in the 60s, with Tsuburaya even putting their popular Ultra series on hiatus following the finale of Ultra 7 in 1968. The first draft was titled Mask Man K and focused on a gym teacher named Tsuyoshi Kujo, who moonlights as the titular hero. Mask Man K would fight against the forces of Shocker, an evil syndicate hell-bent on taking over Japan. The story aimed to deliver action and drama while inspiring kids with a main character who had gained his powers through hard work and training, drawing heavily from sports anime. The proposal was never submitted to MBS. Instead, Hirayama grabbed writers Masaru Igami, Shinichi Ichikawa, and Shozo Uehara to form a three-man writing team and meet throughout the summer to make adjustments to the proposal. This would turn Mask Man K into what would become known as Kamen Tenchi, Masked Angel. The new version changed the lead character's name to Takeshi Hongo, now a wanted man suspected of killing his former teacher, Professor Midorikawa. Uehara and Ichikawa were more familiar with writing science fiction, having previously worked with Tsuburaya writing episodes of Ultra Q and Ultraman. And this iteration noticeably reduced the athletic vibe of the first draft by introducing sci-fi elements, such as the main character receiving his powers by being electrocuted with 300,000 volts of electricity. You can actually see a remnant of this in the finished version, though here Hongo is just being electrocuted to show the durability of his new body, as opposed to it being the source of his power. Watanabe and Hirayama had been working alongside Noboru Kato, the manager of manga author Shotaro Ishinomori. Ishinomori was a huge name in Japan as several manga of his had already been adapted into anime and film. Most famously, Ishinomori was the creator of Cyborg 009, which by 1970 had run for 10 volumes and had been adapted into a 26-episode TV series and 2 animated films. In September of 1970, Hirayama reached out to Ishinomori to design the hero for the series. Noboru Kato approved the meeting but said Ishinomori was busy and only allowed Hirayama 30 minutes to pitch his proposal. Despite Hirayama feeling pressured by Kato staring at his watch for the duration of the meeting, Ishinomori liked the pitch and designed a hero which he called Crossfire. Due to a studio mandate that the hero must ride a motorcycle, Crossfire rode a motorcycle and wore a motorcycle helmet with a cross-shaped visor that he would lower to hide the scars from his electrical shocks. These scars would also prominently appear on his face when he became angry. These aspects of Crossfire were obviously taken from the character Gully Foyle from Alfred Bester's book The Star's My Destination, a sci-fi novel where the main character's tiger-striped tattoos show on his face when he's angered. This detail wouldn't make it into the final show, but it did become a recurring plot point in Ishinomori's serialized manga adaptation. The Crossfire proposal also added in the character Ruriko Midorikawa, the daughter of the murdered professor who joins forces with the hero to avenge her father. In November of 1970, Ishinomori's designs for Crossfire were submitted to Toei and MBS, who loved them, immediately approving the project and requesting a budget proposal. The budget would turn out to be one of the most contentious and defining aspects of Kamen Rider's production. Hirayama claimed that Toei was initially told to produce a hit show regardless of the expense, but before filming began, he learned that the budget per episode would only be 4 million yen, 4 million yen was less than most dramas at the time, and less than half of what it cost Tsuburaya to produce an episode of Ultraman. Hirayama called the bureau director at MBS, who compared Toei to bandits, skimping on production costs to embezzle money for themselves. Hirayama considered himself a level-headed guy, and often worked to defuse situations like this, but from his perspective, such allegations couldn't have been met with anything but dissent, or else it might appear as an admission of guilt. Hirayama called the allegations slander, and told the director that he was out of line to accuse people he should consider partners of such an act. Hirayama continued to argue that the allegations were ridiculous, considering that the budget was so low that there was nowhere to embezzle money from. MBS's Tetsu Shono intervened and put the argument to rest, and it's believed that the accusation was a bluff meant to scare Toei from potentially embezzling funds. But bluff or not, the situation had many at Toei concerned that the project would be cancelled before they could even film episode 1. By December, the title had changed to Cross-Masked Kamen Rider, and actor and martial artist Hiroshi Fujioka was cast in the role as protagonist Takeshi Hongo. The premiere was set for April 3rd, 1971, but at the same time, Toei learned that Tsuburaya was planning to revive the Ultra series with Return of Ultraman, also premiering in April of 1971. Hirayama didn't get along with writer Shinichi Ichikawa from the start of production, and since Ichikawa had past experience writing for Ultraman, it didn't surprise anyone when he jumped ship, taking fellow writer Shozo Uehara with him to write for Tsuburaya's new TV project. Hirayama saw this as a personal betrayal, though in Ichikawa's defense, budget issues guaranteed that he would make more money working for Tsuburaya. With the pre-production constantly changing ideas combined with the war of business politics occurring between Toei and MBS, he also likely assumed that filming would never even get started. And Ichikawa did bring in replacement writers Masayuki Shimada and Hidetoshi Kitamura to fill his and Uehara's roles before his departure. Despite losing 2 writers, the production was making headway. Toei had their hero, and his cool design was sure to be popular with children. Then, one January night after finishing his dinner, Hirayama received an unexpected phone call. Hirayama's wife says it's Mr. Ishimori and hands him the phone. Ishinomori tells Hirayama that he doesn't like the current portrayal of the hero and wanted to do something different. Crossfire was too conventional, and Ishinomori wanted to create something that was quote-unquote realistic and grotesque. Ishinomori presented a new proposal titled Kamen Rider Skullman, where the design of the hero was changed to a man wearing a helmet with a skull motif. The design and tone were inspired by Ishinomori's one-shot manga The Skullman, published a year prior in Weekly Shonen magazine for their New Year's one-shot special. This rendition of the character saw Takeshi Hongo gaining his powers by becoming a cyborg in a similar manner to the antagonist monsters of the series. Hirayama presented this new pitch to Watanabe, and he hated it. Watanabe wanted an original hero, and Skullman had existed for a full year at that point. MBS also disliked the proposal, as they felt a character with a skull motif wouldn't be appealing because it was too scary and would hinder sales. The 7:30 p.m. time slot was popular with families since it was common for families to watch TV while eating dinner, and MBS said that showing a skull during dinner would make people sick. Ishinomori was disheartened that the proposal wasn't accepted and began drawing designs sporadically. This frustration would lead Ishinomori to create over 50 possible designs for the character. Of the designs, Ishinomori gravitated to a design based on a grasshopper motif, as he felt the grasshopper's face was eerie and skull-like. Reflecting on the grasshopper design, Ishinomori became attracted to it, as he felt an insect design would be perfect for a hero who fights against an enemy who destroys nature. At the time, Japan was experiencing rising concerns over rapid industrialization, with lawsuits brought against the Mitsui Mining and Smelting Company, who were found to be dumping cadmium in the Jinzu River, leading to an outbreak of the Itai virus. Ishinomori envisioned Kamen Rider as a hero who protects not just people, but the Earth itself. MBS and Toei still weren't sold on the grasshopper motif and thought that children might find the design frightening. Ishinomori asked his son Joe, who was in kindergarten at the time, to choose his favorite drawing from an array of different designs. And to Ishinomori's delight, his son chose the grasshopper design. When the grasshopper design was brought to MBS's office in Tokyo, Tetsu Shono said that he was relieved the design was not a skull, but still objected to the use of an insect design. Shono said that kids crush insects, which would make the hero appear weak. Hirayama argued that insects are strong and only appear weak because of their size, and that if a bug was human-sized, it would be incredibly powerful. The next day, Hirayama and Ishinomori's manager Kato visited MBS's headquarters in Osaka to deliver their pitch. Hirayama pitched the series as a hero project with an insect man, intentionally neglecting to specify that the character was a grasshopper, since that aspect of the character seemed to be controversial. Kato then drew the mask on a blackboard and said that it was so easy to remember children could draw it from memory, and that was enough for MBS to give their final approval and begin production. Now going under the title Kamen Rider Hopper King, the story was an amalgamation of elements from previous proposals. It follows Takeshi Hongo, an amazing athlete with an IQ of 600, but because of these outstanding traits, he's captured by the evil organization Shocker and turned into one of their cyborg monsters. Hongo manages to escape before Shocker can erase his memory with the help of his former teacher, Professor Midorikawa, and uses his newfound power to fight against Shocker and their army of cyborg monsters. Having a superhero who forcibly received his powers from the villains and who struggles to adjust to these changes, while identical to the struggles of the main characters from Ishinomori's manga Cyborg 009, wasn't typical for TV superhero programs. Despite concerns, Ishinomori felt it was necessary for the main character to struggle and endure tragedy, as it was crucial for creating a character who viewers could relate to. Likewise, Hirayama wanted the show to contain character drama that could spark interest and tension to hold viewers throughout the entire episode's runtime. According to Hirayama, most special effects shows had a similar formula where episodes mostly consisted of characters talking or investigating, with all the action and budget thrown into the final 3 minutes where the hero finally fights the bad guy. Hirayama's push for character drama was to circumvent this pitfall, and make viewers want to watch the whole episode all the way through, and this was achieved through Ishinomori's presentation of a tragic hero, along with a heavy incorporation of mystery elements to spur intrigue and keep viewers invested. Budget was always an issue with the production, with many of the staff noting that the special effects and costumes were noticeably lower quality than what viewers could find watching reruns of Tsuburaya's Ultra series. The main character's transformation sequence was achieved using jump cuts and streaks of light drawn onto the film, which gave the sequence an amateurish look. It was clear that Toei's hero wouldn't be able to perform amazing attacks like Ultraman's Spacium Beam, but Toei's Yusaku Uchida realized they could use the hero's grasshopper motif to their advantage. Instead of shooting a beam, the hero could jump high into the air and deliver a powerful kick. A move like this would be relatively easy to pull off with limited resources. This would be the birth of Kamen Rider's signature move, the Rider Kick. Rider Kick! Hirayama reflected on the technique, stating that the low budget inadvertently helped the series become more popular. He recalled always seeing children play riders, and many of Toei's fan letters were from children who loved playing riders with their friends and classmates. According to Hirayama, if children were to play Ultraman, they would do the hand motion and pretend to fire a Spacium Beam, but that isn't as fun or immersive as actually doing a jump, kick, or chop like Rider. The show began filming its first few episodes in February of 1971. Around that time, MBS expressed concern that the title might be too long, and they called Kodansha, who were about to print the magazine featuring the first advertisement for the series, to stop the presses. At the last minute, the title was shortened from Kamen Rider Hopper King to simply Kamen Rider. Kamen Rider's first 2 episodes still mostly used the material from Igami's original scripts from the Crossfire proposal, with episode 1 even retaining the title The Eerie Spider-Man, while episode 2, Mysterious House of Horrors, was retitled The Terrifying Batman. There was a lot of uncertainty among the crew because despite being an entry in the tokusatsu genre, the series used very few special effects. Hiroshi Fujioka referred to the series as a no-money, body-intensive action film due to the lack of miniatures or sets, with most battles consisting of choreographed fights mixed with low-angle shots of trampoline jumps, usually filmed in a vacant quarry or that one dam. Before the series even started airing, the bureau director at MBS was furious when he saw an early cut of episode 7. The episode ended with a scene of Takeshi Hongo running when he discovers 2 puppies. He stops and begins playing with the puppies, asking them if they are as lonely as he is. The bureau director at MBS was furious as he felt superheroes needed to be strong and cheerful and unconcerned with sentimentality. Hirayama drove to the office the next day and told him why the scene was important for establishing Hongo's character, and in a very anticlimactic fashion, MBS agreed. What Hirayama doesn't mention in his book when he recounts this story is that Hongo asking the puppies if they are lonely too is completely inaudible in the final version of the episode, instead featuring the narrator delivering a voiceover about how Hongo will always fight the evil forces of Shocker. The sentiment remains though, as it was the image of Hongo playing with the puppies that the bureau director said made him look weak. Shortly after the puppy incident, a new issue arose, one that was much more serious and would change the trajectory of the Rider series before the first episode could even hit television.
While filming a scene for episode 10, Hiroshi Fujioka fell off his motorcycle and suffered a severe injury that made him unable to work for 6 months. A meeting was called between Toei and MBS to discuss a new direction for the series, with MBS advocating to kill off Takeshi Hongo and replace him with a new actor. Hirayama protested that killing the hero would destroy the dreams of children, but the series had just debuted on television and the ratings coming in were at 8.1%. This was better than the reruns of Bewitched, but not the ratings blowout the network was hoping for. While trying to determine the new direction for the series, episodes 12 and 13 were created by limiting Takeshi Hongo's appearances in the episodes, and by mixing stock footage of Hiroshi Fujioka with new shots of actors wearing the same outfits, Game of Death style. Because scenes and episodes were often filmed out of order, the final scene of episode 9 hadn't been filmed yet. This scene was to feature Takeshi Hongo presenting flowers and crying over the grave of a dog. However, because of the accident, the scene had to be filmed with a stuntman in costume, which many on staff disliked since you couldn't discern Hongo's grief with his face obscured by a mask. Though Hirayama was satisfied with the scene, the staff at MBS were not. It seemed like there was only one path the staff could take in order to move forward. They had to do what the forces of Shocker couldn't: kill Takeshi Hongo. Despite MBS's insistence that killing off Takeshi Hongo would solve all their problems, Hirayama's persistence kept Hongo alive, and it was decided that instead Hongo would leave to fight Shocker overseas and a new writer would take his place. This gave the staff an opportunity to fix a lot of issues they found while filming earlier episodes. For example, the dark green used for Kamen Rider's chest, helmet, and gloves made it difficult to film night scenes because the suit was impossible to see in the dark. The new rider would feature a brighter color of green, as well as white streaks along his arms and legs, which were previously all black. The new rider was named Hayato Ichimonji, played by actor Takeshi Sasaki. Fans took to Hayato Ichimonji quickly, who had a more youthful and down-to-earth demeanor than the stoic loner that was Takeshi Hongo. Hayato was also given a partner, a new character introduced in episode 11 named Kazuya Taki, an FBI agent investigating Shocker who was also a skilled martial artist. Taki was played by actor and martial artist Jiro Chiba, brother of Sonny Chiba, and who was originally considered for the part of Takeshi Hongo. Sasaki had seemed like the perfect choice for Kamen Rider except for one thing: he didn't have a motorcycle license. With no time to spare, the production team decided to avoid obtaining a license for Sasaki, as it would take too much time and they had already learned a valuable lesson about allowing their lead actor to do his own stunts. But this meant that Sasaki's Kamen Rider couldn't transform by collecting wind energy in his belt, as it would require shots of him riding his motorcycle. Kazuoshi Takashi of the Ono Kendo Club, the group that provided most of the stuntmen used for the series, suggested he could do a maneuver similar to those done by sumo wrestlers at the start of a fight. This sequence was filmed so hastily though that Sasaki actually botched the choreography, as he forgot to unzip his vest before starting. Despite the abrupt transition, the lighter tone and cast changes proved successful, as Kamen Rider's ratings began to climb following the introduction of Takeshi Sasaki's Kamen Rider 2. In fact, Sasaki proved so popular that he remained the main character even after Hiroshi Fujioka's leg healed. Fujioka wasn't out of the show for good though, as he would return in episodes 40 and 41, before returning to the series permanently in episode 51 and remaining until the end of the series with episode 98. One of the most notable episodes following Fujioka's return would be episode 84. This episode is important because it was actually directed by Shotaro Ishinomori himself. Ishinomori loved film and had been trying to convince Toei to allow him to direct an episode for months. Ishinomori's manager Kato, though, wouldn't allow it as he had too many manga obligations to take time out of his schedule to work on a TV show. Ishinomori decided to bypass Kato's permission entirely and approached Yoshinori Watanabe with the request, and Watanabe agreed. Kato was strict though, and made sure that when Ishinomori wasn't filming, he was in his hotel room working on his manuscripts. Kato even told Toru Hirayama not to compliment Ishinomori's work because he was afraid if he moved his focus to live action, it would be the end of Ishimori Productions. The crew was overall impressed with Ishinomori's directing, and this episode actually stands out for having some great cinematography, heavily utilizing helicopter shots and dynamic framing that makes the image appear like something from a movie rather than a TV show. Though the series technically ended at episode 98, its success spurred MBS to renew their contract with Toei. To follow up on what would have been the finale, Ishinomori and Toei created a new Kamen Rider who would fight alongside Fujioka and Sasaki's Kamen Rider 1 and 2. Portrayed by actor Hiroshi Miyauchi, this new Kamen Rider series would be known as Kamen Rider V3. Though V3 is considered a sequel to the original Kamen Rider, internally many at Toei considered it a continuation, and so upon completion of the second episode, Toei held a party to celebrate Kamen Rider's 100th episode. Hirayama thanked everyone who had helped make the series possible, offering a special hand of gratitude to the Ono Kendo Club, who he said were indispensable and underappreciated for their work bringing the series to life. The popularity of the series would lead to a television phenomenon known as the Henshin Boom, a period between 1971 and 1975 where Japanese children's television was dominated by superheroes with a variety of transformation gimmicks. Many of these shows would be created as future collaborations between Shotaro Ishinomori and Toru Hirayama. The series would also turn Hiroshi Fujioka into a household name. If you don't recognize him for playing Kamen Rider, you may actually recognize him instead for playing the Sega Saturn mascot Segato Sanshiro. And even to this day, Fujioka continues to appear in television and commercials. Across 2 years, only a single episode of Kamen Rider surpassed a 30% viewer rating, but the average viewer rating was 21.2%, and later episodes occasionally did surpass episodes of Comedy Brain Exercises. Hirayama called the series a miracle, spawning a franchise that still inspires children to this very day. Hey, thanks for watching the video to the end. You know, I used to think that citing sources on a YouTube video was a little pretentious, but that's kind of in vogue now, so here are the books I used for the main chunk of my research into this. This video was also previously an article which I wrote for the website Zimmerit, which is also now doing YouTube content, so go ahead and check out that YouTube channel. Importing and translating these books was expensive, so if you're able to, please support the Patreon. That way I'll be able to make more videos like this, or even just like and share the video. It's all appreciated. Thank you, and goodbye.